Hello. What is up, everybody? My name's Dallas. I'm from Coder Academy, and today we're going to have a bit of a chat about some of our coding boot camps coming up soon. We'll just hold off for a moment and let a few more people roll on in, and then we will kick off. Cool. So we may as well get underway. Once again, my name's Dallas. I'm from Coder Academy. I'm one of the enrollment advisors here. And today we're going to have a bit of a chat about our coding boot camps. Let's just, jump right on in here. Um, so Coder Academy, where coders are made. Acknowledgement of country. In the spirit of reconciliation, Coder Academy acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea, and community. We pay our respect to elders past and present and extend that respect to Aboriginals and Torres Strait Islander people today. There's a couple of us here, myself, Lee, and Tom. We're the enrollment advisors for Coder Academy. With me today is Lee, and she's just going to jump on for a quick chat. Hello, Lee.
Hello. Thank you for sharing your lunch break with us, everyone. Just a couple of things. We are very happy for you to put any questions you have about the course or the enrollment process into the live chat. When I say live chat, we mean the chat button, not the Q&A button. So please have your chat button open, your chat icon open, and please set the toggle at the bottom where it says who can see your messages. It says to, and we want it to say everyone. So if it says hosts and panelists, please just click it over to everyone. And that just means that everyone can see your message and we won't have any doubling up of questions. Now, we are super happy to answer any questions that you have in there. No questions too big or too small. They will all get answered. Even if there are a huge amount of questions and we can't fit them into the session, then with the recording of the session, we will send you answers to the questions that we didn't get time for. This rarely happens, but I'm just letting you know. Yeah, thank you for joining us today. If you like, it would be wonderful for you to let us know where you're joining us from. We love to know what representation we've got at our webinars. I'm joining you today from Sydney and I'm on Sydney campus in Ultimo. Dallas is in Brisbane. Where are you? Let us know. So I will now take off and Dallas will start the presentation about what you can expect if you do join us for a boot camp at Coder Academy. Thank you so much. Bye.
Coolio. Cheers for that, Lee. So, also our details right there on the screen. If you haven't contacted us before and you are looking to reach out, I'm sure you have, though. We've definitely been in contact with the majority of people that have jumped on today. But yeah, let's move forward. So what is coding? Coding can be a lot of things. Essentially, there's a few high level, I guess, sort of like, titles there, like programmer, which is pretty much just talking about any sort of coding at all, very generic. What we teach is web development specifically, front end development and back end development together being full stack development. So full stack web development is what we deliver. Front end versus back end. So long story real short, essentially front end development is going to be sort of the visual stuff that you can see if you go onto a website. You see all the pretty things and sort of where they're placed, and that's how they look. And then you'll find that back end development is maybe how things work. So if you click a certain button and it takes you to a certain page, that's connected to back-end development. If you complete a web form and that web form then spits out information to you, that's using back-end development to create that information or tailor that information to be delivered back to you. That's sort of what it is, really. So you'll find that back-end development is pretty heavily involved in databases and sort of cataloging information when it comes to websites. But without going into too much detail, that's pretty much what back-end development is. These are a few coding languages that you'll be touching on with us. You touch on quite a fair few, but HTML, CSS, and JavaScript are kind of like probably the key languages that you'll be using for web development, specifically with making websites and web-based applications. So HTML, you're going to find that's kind of like the framework of a website, and then you'll use CSS, which is the style it says right there to sort of, create the pretty things. And then JavaScript, you might use that to sort of like create moving parts, bits and pieces. Um, if you kind of looked at it from the perspective of like building a house, you'd have the actual structure of the house is HTML. Maybe the cladding of the house and maybe some like, windows, etc., would be the CSS. And then you could say JavaScript might be like the ability to turn a tap on and off and have water come out of it. You're going to be using JavaScript for that sort of stuff, and maybe like electricity and how lights turn on. That's probably the best explanation I can give. Um, so tools and technology, essentially, you'll be using your browser a lot because, that's what web development is. Whether you're creating a website or you're creating or using web-based applications, then, you're going to be, dealing with the browser a lot. And there's just a few there, a couple of big ones, Chrome and Safari. And then you're using a coding editor. We'll be using Visual Studio Code. So Microsoft Visual Studio Code, or VS Code, as everyone calls it, is probably the leading editor in pretty much the world. Whether you're on a Mac or whether you're on a Windows PC, you'll likely be using VS Code. It's kind of just the go-to. And then GitHub, kind of harder to explain what GitHub is to people who don't understand how it works or much about coding, but it's pretty much a cloud platform. You sort of push your code to a cloud, and then you can also pull code from the cloud as well and use it. It's just a storage that isn't, I guess, local to you. It's also a really good way of being able to push code to, say, an application that's a bigger picture where there's multiple people working on it. People can push and pull code to the same place all together and be working on different parts of one project all at the same time. So that's pretty cool. And GitHub is one of the biggest ones that's used. And that's one that we teach. So who employs full stack developers? Everyone, really. Everyone employs full stack developers. It's not just in tech anymore. You can see that there's like IT companies, retail, fintech's a big one, digital agencies. Ultimately, when you think of like development and coding, you think of IT companies, but it's not always going to be IT companies. If you think about retail is a great one. A lot of people out there that have online businesses, who is building and maintaining these websites? Full stack web developers. So I guess a big presence in retail. Fintech is big as well. Obviously, everyone has banking applications on their phone. Full stack developers are the ones that are sort of in charge of making and maintaining those. And also digital agencies. There is like lots of different bits and pieces. You could have, data analysts, working in marketing teams, all that sort of stuff. So look, development and coding in general is just, it's so, I guess it's got such a fast stretch these days. It's everywhere in all sorts of industries. So yeah, there's plenty of work available out there. So the average salary for a full stack dev is about 120,000. So obviously that's not going to be a starting salary. That's for someone who's been in the industry for a couple of years. You'll be able to reach a six-figure salary pretty quickly. Tech does move quickly. And also for a starting salary, you're probably looking at somewhere between $75,000 to $80,000 a year, which isn't too bad. So if you completed a bootcamp with us after 10 months and you broke directly into the industry as a full stack developer or a junior full stack developer, you could look at maybe 70, 75, 80K a year. So look, 30% job growth within the next 5 years, which is really cool. And there's just a lot of need for developers right now, especially full stack web development. And that's the reason we deliver it. It's our bread and butter because there's a need for it. So our bootcamps are ideal for pretty much anyone. Career changes are a big one. We deliver 10-month bootcamps. Okay. It's a short period of time, and you can complete a bootcamp with us with a part-time, casual, or full-time job. And so it's just a really good choice for anyone to come on board. You'll find that career changers don't want to go back to uni and do another 3-year degree, which is totally fair. They don't want to waste that time and money. And so it's just a great opportunity to come on board for a boot camp with us. Upskill as well. You'll find that there's people that are in tech currently. We find that a lot of software developers or software engineers come on board who have mainly been working not necessarily in full stack web development, but mostly on computers, creating executable files, that sort of stuff that is like about software specifically. They're looking to move into the web space because they know it's trending heavily. And ultimately, as the internet, gets better, the internet speeds get more powerful, get faster, sorry, browsers become more powerful. A lot of people are moving away from creating software with executable files on computers, and they're starting to move towards creating web-based applications. An example I like to use a lot is probably Microsoft Office. Obviously, there was a time where it was all Microsoft Office on everyone's computer. It was the standard, but now they've moved to Microsoft 365, which is pretty much all web based. You don't have to install anything. It's all using the cloud. It's all using the browser that you're using, and you've obviously got G Suite, which is a Google version of that as well. So there's more options available, and it's all web based software. And yeah, look, it's an alternative to uni. That's always a good point as well. So essentially with Coder Academy, our bootcamp is accredited. It's a diploma of web development. And our bootcamp is made up of university level subjects. So it means that, if you wanted to, you could complete a bootcamp with us, move into the industry as a developer straight afterwards because you will have the skills. And then you could probably, go to uni part-time if you wanted to, and you could even get credit for the subjects you complete with us. So you can get a little bit of time and money back if you decided to move on to further study. But ultimately, we're here because people just need to move directly into the industry after study, and you can do that with us too. Coolio. So here's a bunch of information for you. The next intake is on the 22nd of July. So it's just around the corner, but there's still time to go ahead and apply. So if you're hungry for it, we're still taking applicants. It's a 10-month boot camp. There is a 4-week optional industry placement that is available at the end of the boot camp. We'll talk more about that soon. It's 100% virtual. Okay, so you can join us from anywhere in Australia. I'd say anywhere in the world, but you have to consider the time differences. We have live classes there, Monday and Wednesday, 7 p.m. To 9 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time currently. Okay, and on Saturday from 9 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. So, while anyone can join us from anywhere in the world, these live classes need to be attended, and it may not, work out super well depending on, what your time zone is. So you have to consider that too. There's about, it says 20 hours. We say probably 13 to 20 hours of facilitated self-study needed per week as well. We have support hubs in Brisbane, Sydney, and Melbourne. And so you can go into these campuses and you can sort of like, from 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, you can go and study there if you need a place to study and you need some internet and that sort of stuff. So you can use our facilities. But ultimately, those live classes will be delivered online, so you don't ever have to step foot in a campus at all if you don't want to. Look, it's a higher education diploma of web development is the accreditation you receive. The price is just over $22,000 there. And because we're accredited, you can use a fee help government loan to defer payment if you're an Australian citizen or New Zealand special category visa holder, or a couple of other options as well. But we're happy to answer more questions about that if you do have any. So here's a bit more of a big breakdown. So you got 10 months is 28 hours dedication per week for the boot camp. Okay. And yeah, Monday and Wednesday, and it's on Saturday as well. So with a full-time job, it can be completed with a full-time job. You will have to manage your time pretty well though. It's going to be a full 10 months, but it can definitely be done. And there's students doing it right now. Here's a more visual guide as to how your week would look. So 7 to 9 on Monday and Wednesday there. And then you've got the 9 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. on the Saturday. And then you can just sort of squeeze in your self-study anywhere you want in the rest of the gaps. And obviously that pale yellow, that's when support is available, or academic support. You can go to the campus on 2 days a week, I believe, Mondays and Fridays. And also Discord. So you'll have a Discord channel that's assigned to you when you basically enroll with us for the cohort. Now, with that Discord channel, you can pretty much get support there Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So that's available to you. So we got a bootcamp breakdown here. So basically, term one, we're going to be covering HTML and CSS. You'll be building a portfolio website, doing some Python programming, and building a terminal application. Now, if a lot of this, is sort of going over your head, that's totally fine. We do teach you entirely from the ground up. Okay, so no prior coding knowledge is needed. It will help if you have played around with a little bit of code. There's plenty of free online coding modules available to you. Just to get a bit of a taster to make sure you know what you're getting yourself into. But ultimately, you can come on board with no coding knowledge, and we'll teach you everything you need to know. So yeah, you'll be building a terminal application, Python with Flask, and also touching on JavaScript. And then a continued JavaScript there, you'll be dealing with the deployment. Full stack application in Flask is what you'll be building there. React, which is the framework that's used with JavaScript. You'll be building a full stack web application for a real client, which is one of the bigger assessments you have sort of towards the end of the bootcamp. You'll be touching on DevOps fundamentals and AWS Cloud Practitioner. And also you'll be using Docker too, which is a really fun little piece of software. Then you've got the optional industry placement, which I said I'd talk about, so I suppose I should. Basically, with the optional industry placement, at the end of the bootcamp, we have our partnerships team deals with a lot of different partnering companies, and these partnering companies are happy to take on students for an internship. Okay, it's a 1 month internship. In order to be eligible for the industry placement program, you need to have a first-time pass rate on your assessments, preferably a credit pass, which is definitely achievable. You need to turn up to your live classes, so actually have good attendance. And you need to be able to sort of conduct yourself in an interview situation. So be able to talk to people essentially. And that's pretty much all we're really chasing. So what happens is sort of towards the end of the boot camp, the partnerships team will reach out to the students, have a bit of a chat. They will gather up information. By then you'll have completed a web-based portfolio. We'll get some links to your socials, maybe your GitHub, and a resume or CV. And we'll push that forward to multiple companies. So multiple companies will receive, multiple sort of like applications, so to speak, from all different students. And it's kind of up to you to sort of make yourself stand out because it's going to be, a ton of students sort of with all the same skill set, all gunning for internships. So if you're hungry for it, you won't have any problems. There's always, plenty of students, that are chasing these internships, and we rarely have any issues. A lot of people get on board. Now, with the internship, I'll say right now that it's more than likely a 1 month unpaid internship. That we do have cases where these partnering companies decide that they do want to actually pay you as well. But you might also find that you might get picked up by a company before you even finish the boot camp. Who knows? These are a couple of companies that our grads are working at, and also some of our partnering companies that you might end up getting placed with. You can see that there's quite a few big companies that stand out and you would know, and then there's a few smaller and medium-sized companies. So what we do is we try to tailor our industry placement as best as possible. So we'll find out if you're looking to join a big company and sort of just be a fly on the wall developer, just to sort of like assess the situation and see how the industry starts to work, or whether you want to be, maybe you want to wear many hats and go and try and gain employment with the startup. We try to tailor, all those needs. So we have a plethora of small, medium, and large companies. Diversity in Tech Scholarship. So this one, you can actually apply for our September one when that one opens up. Right now, the Diversity in Tech Scholarship has closed for the July intake on the 22nd. But ultimately, what it means is, there's one up for grabs per intake. There's 50% off all course fees, okay? And it's open to domestic students. Now, I encourage you to go and have a look on the website if you want to have a look more on our Diversity in Tech Scholarship, because it's really cool. But if you're looking to join us for July, then that one is actually closed. The application process is quite simple. You go ahead and apply on the website or via one of the emails that we sent through. There's blue links, and then you complete the enrollment and then you start the boot camp. It's very, very simple. You have the option of deferring payment with a free help government loan, or you can also use our monthly payment, our monthly deposits. So questions. We'll get Lee to jump back on and we'll open up
Hello. Um, well, I have answered quite a few questions while we've been sort of traveling along. There are no unanswered ones currently. So what we generally do here is we pitch some questions forward that we know we get asked very often by prospective CODA students. Now, as we chat about these, please feel free to drop more questions into the chat and they'll take the place of whatever ones we've got listed down, okay? But yeah, please feel free to ask whatever it is you want to ask. No questions too big, too small, too silly, too intellectual. Just go for it. All good. Look, one of the things we often get asked, and Dallas will definitely agree, is we often get asked what the entry requirements are for the boot camp. So what do we need, Dallas, in order to join the course?
Yeah, cool. So, essentially, you just need to complete year 12. So, year 12, or maybe like a Cert 4, or a diploma, or a degree. Basically, year 12 or something higher than year 12. You just need to provide proof of that. Um, while we do, sometimes take on students who haven't completed year 12. Sorry, take on students that are younger. So, maybe you're 11. We ultimately advise that you have completed high school before coming on board. The study load for a boot camp with us is a little bit too much to handle while studying high school at the same time, so we don't recommend that. Um, but also, if you maybe hadn't completed year 12 and you're looking to get into the tech industry as a developer, we have alternative paths to get in as well. So, yeah, it's definitely open to everyone. So even if you don't think that you have the right credentials to get on board, definitely have a chat with us because there's a good chance that you do.
Awesome. Thanks, Dallas. Um, We've just been asked actually the same question by two people. So Anuradha and Christy are both asking, what is the criteria for applying for the scholarship? There we go.
Yeah. So it's pretty straightforward. Because it's a diversity in tech scholarship, it's just all about diversity. So in order to, be eligible for it, you need to have first applied and been accepted into a boot camp. That's the first step. And once you've applied and been accepted into a boot camp, we will send out a link that actually allows you to apply for the scholarship. Now, diversity and scholarship, diversity being the word that it is, you could pretty much share with us how you are a diverse pick from whatever angle you'd like. It's purely up to yourself. And then, in the application itself, you have to answer a few questions with as much detail as possible and also submit a portfolio. Now, a portfolio could mean anything. A lot of people will submit websites that they've completed about themselves. It's not necessary to do that if you don't have the skills because you're coming to this boot camp to learn those skills. But some people submit those things. Some people do a vlog as well. They'll do a video about themselves, sort of chatting about where they're from and where they're going and what they plan to do. Once they win the diversity in tech scholarship and join Coda Academy. So that's pretty much what it's all about and what you need to get in.
Just adding on to what you've just said, Dallas, and thank you for that. That was really great. But I just wanted to add that we do often get asked, what do you mean by diverse? And that could be that you've been through some adversity in your past, like a really difficult time, and you outline that. It could be based on, gender. It could be based on age. It could be that you have had this really interesting background professionally or that you know many languages. What do you bring that's different, basically? And that is open to men and women alike. So I do get asked by men, can I still apply that even though I'm a guy? Like, am I diverse? Like, well, you might be very diverse. So yeah, please do feel free to go for it. The next question we have actually still concerning the scholarship is from Monique. And Monique is asking, if the July scholarship is full, when would be the next boot camp that we can use a scholarship for? So Monique, we've actually got 2 more intakes this year. I'll just type this in the chat. So next intakes are September 2nd and also October 14th. So we have 2 more before the end of the year. And then in 2025, we have I can't remember if it's 5 or 6 intakes, but it's a lot. So you've got plenty of opportunities if you're very interested in applying for the scholarship in order to join us, then you have many jumping on points coming up. Yeah. For the September boot camp, of course, it is 2 weeks prior that the application would close, so that'd sort of be like halfway through August. Yeah. Okay. And keep those questions coming, guys. Another question that we very often get asked um, is about the level of academic support that can be expected by prospective CODA students if they should join us. You know, a lot of people maybe have done a little bit of study online before, or they may have joined, you know, large public unis, got a bit lost in the mix, and are a little bit daunted by the prospect of studying online. So yeah, it's a good question actually about what is that level of academic support that you'll be given during your boot camp. Dallas, did you want to go into that a bit?
Yeah, sure. So I guess we're very supportive. Because when it comes down to it, the boot camps that we deliver, they're not the easiest boot camp. You know, they can be pretty intense. It does ramp up a fair bit, pretty quickly. And it's the sort of boot camp that, you really get out what you put in. Okay. So we understand that it can be like that and it can be a little bit daunting and it's a lot in a very short period of time. So we have a lot of support staff around to always jump on and happy to help out because we know how it can be. Um, you'll find that um, in the live classes, you'll have one educator who is actually delivering the lecture, so to speak, and then you'll have other educators who are sort of roaming virtually through these live classes and making sure and checking in with our students to make sure that everyone's on the right track. So there's the first sort of the initial support is there. And what happens is sometimes if, let's say, there are students that maybe a group of students that aren't quite grasping a concept that's being taught, they'll break away into another room virtually and have a bit of a chat with a different educator and sort of like talk it through until they can grasp it. And then they'll sort of like, and then they'll merge back in with everyone else. And the same thing applies to people who are moving ahead a little bit faster. So if you find that you're a little bit more advanced, then educators you might split off with an educator and chat about some more advanced concepts, because there is always so much more to learn, even within the same parameters of like one particular subject. You'll never really learn it all. And that aside, you'll find that there's a lot of support available in Discord. So if you haven't used Discord before, it's kind of like a social media platform, and you can have a bit of a chat with peers. You can have a bit of a chat with educators there, but you can always reach out to them there. They're available Monday to Saturday. And you'll find that you get just as much support from your peers as well, because everyone's going to be in the same boat and everyone's going to be hungry to learn, but everyone's also going to be worried about failing something. So yeah, that's available to you as well.
Yeah, and good point about the peers because it is massive having your peers there. You know, for some people taking on the boot camp, they're going to actually get a chunk of their, facilitated self-study time done on a Sunday, and that's the one day when we don't have educators manning those student hubs. So that's where peers come in really handy because not only are they doing the same thing as you, but in many cases they're coming up with different answers to you. So you can all share on there, like if you're stuck, maybe someone else isn't, and they say, well, this worked for me, and you've got this really great network. So whether it be a Sunday with your peers or it be Monday to Saturday with your educator available, yeah, you've got a really good connection there, in getting and quick turnaround on getting your questions answered is what I should say. Yeah.
Mm.
Um,
Well, also, we'll just add on there as well, face-to-face support available on campuses Mondays and Wednesdays. Sorry, Mondays and Fridays. If that's something that you really want, you can come to campus in Brisbane, Sydney, and Melbourne. Also, it's important to note that if you desperately want face-to-face support, but you're not able to get to those campuses, you can line up face-to-face sort of virtual meetings as well with educators. So that's definitely available to you as well. So, don't stress, you're not missing out. Like, so if you don't live near a campus, you are not missing out.
um, We have another question from Mark. Thank you, Mark. He says, you mentioned a credit pass earlier being needed to qualify for a placement. How does the assessment and grading work?
Yep. So would you, I thought you were going to take that one. It's all good. So we use a thing we use a thing called the rubric system. So essentially it's really easy to figure out. I wish I had an example. Maybe we should get an example into the rubric system into this slideshow because that'd be cool.
Mm,
Basically, it tells you all of the levels of sort of like, failing through to passing through to like high distinction. And beside it has notes and it tells you exactly what you need in order to achieve that particular level. And so, what you want to do is when you're completing your assessments, you go through and you go through the first sort of row, and you make sure that you hit everything in that row, and then you move to the next one, and you do the same thing all the way through, and you work your way up until you get to pass. Okay, as soon as you get to pass, that's where you want to be. And then once you hit pass, that's when you can start working on things to try and get higher and higher credits, and distinctions, high distinctions, these sort of things. That's sort of like that's how we assess it. So we go off of this thing called the rubric. It's really handy, and reading it is super important because you'll be able to smash assessments. What an educator used to say is, you've got to make the donut and then you can decorate the donut essentially. Okay. So what,
very
what
good.
a big thing that would happen is because everyone's learning these new things and everyone wants to be a cool developer and you can get a little bit hung up on using something really cool or implementing something that you thought was a genius idea and getting lost and forgetting to actually complete the most important parts of the assessment. Okay. It can happen a lot. So you just need to make sure that you've built the donut first. And once you've built the donut, that's when you can add the sprinkles. Okay. So it's really important to look at that. But also, yeah, when it comes to the pass, another thing to point out, I will say when it comes to that industry placement, um, we don't want you to fail. And obviously, we've built our support system around you not failing. So I wouldn't stress about that. Just try and do what you can do. And if you're in there and you're doing the right thing, then you're not going to fail. So don't worry about it. But ultimately, we ask for a credit pass on those assessments. If you don't get a credit pass on one or two assessments, it's not the end of the world. Okay. With industry placement, it is a student by student basis. So everyone will be assessed individually on these things. It's not just a blanket no if you don't get a credit pass on every single assessment. Okay. So don't worry about that.
Yeah, we do have to draw the line in the sand somewhere. That's really what this is. It's like here are the guidelines. But yeah, we do have students who look, they've got excellent class participation. They've done really, really excellently in all other subjects and even in, other assignments for that same subject that they might not have gotten the grade, the full, right? So there's a lot that goes into it, into the consideration for internships. But as a guide, obviously having credit level passes across the board is a good thing and an achievable thing. That rubric is the same kind of rubric that you get at any higher education institute. Like if you're studying a bachelor's degree, you get given that when you're about to do an assessment of any kind. It shows you how. It shows you what you need to demonstrate in order to achieve the grade. So no different in that regard. As far as what the assessments actually are, most of them will be project based, and then there'll be a number of quizzes that are included in those assessments as well. At this point in time, there are no major exams in the course. Yeah. So, shall we continue? Next question, and this is another one that Dallas and I get given very often about the course. What kind of jobs do Coda grads typically go on to secure after the boot camp, Dallas?
Yeah. So look, there's a lot of different, I guess, roles in development. Obviously, full stack web development is the biggest one. That's what we teach. And also, there is a bit of a shortage of full stack web developers in the industry at a junior level. So a lot of students are going to be moving into full stack, web development roles. But you can also, because you have the skill set, you can also move into pure front end or pure back end if that's what you're chasing as well. We teach full stack because it gives you a broader skill set and it makes you more employable. And it also means you can get more money as a full stack developer. Okay, but you don't necessarily need to move into full stack development. So you can get into front end if you happen to come from, say, like a graphic design background. If you are a really good front end developer as well, you can go out and do a whole lot of stuff. So you can, you're not going to be on just the creative side. You'll also be actually on the development side as well. A lot of and then if you happen to be, into graphic design or a very creative person, and then all of a sudden you are quite a good full stack developer as well. That's what we call a unicorn in the industry. There's not that many of them out there where you can basically think with both sides of your brain. And you're set to make a lot of money. So, so if that's you, definitely join us. But yeah, then you can also just do backend if you want. If you want to do backend and you really like processes and the way databases work and that sort of stuff, like that's all backend development. So that's available to you as well. People might think that they're coming into the bootcamp to join us for front end development because they're like, oh, front end, it makes more sense. It makes more sense to me, but there's a good chance that you might walk out the door of the bootcamp at the end loving back end development even more. It's really crazy. What I found is that when you're doing the boot camp, you might have an idea of what you want to do, but honestly, it could change the 3 or 4 times by the time you finish the boot camp. You'll find out about roles in development that you didn't even realize existed. But yeah, that's what you can do. Also, you can another role off the top of my head is so you could become an engineer at like Apple or Microsoft or something like that, where people call up and they like go, oh, I'm having a problem with my computer, it's not working properly, and then they go through a couple of different tiers of support of people trying to help them, and then eventually what happens is it gets sort of like it gets raised. I think it gets raised to engineering, and that would be you. You'd be qualified to basically do work as an engineer for one of those sort of companies as well.
Nice. And on that sort of note of, you talking previously about people who can kind of easily swing between front end and back end and be amazing at both and being a unicorn and such, it just came into my mind another question which we often get asked, which is, do I need to be good at mathematics in order to code?
Yeah, that's one that comes up a lot actually, and you
Yeah.
definitely don't need to be good at maths. Yeah, there's a thing called discrete mathematics that a lot of places teach, and essentially it teaches you how to create computer algorithms from scratch. Okay, and I guess it is good to have if we happen to go back to the Stone Age and we need to build civilization from the ground up, but you don't really need that day to day to be a full stack web developer. You'll also, there's a lot of software out there that does a lot of that work for us. So yeah, you don't need to be good at maths at all, really. Maths doesn't really come into the equation a lot of the time.
Nice. That's really great news for a lot of people, Be great
Mm,
news for me, seriously. Terrible. So I think just one more question really. So
yeah,
this is something that we do often get asked. I'd like to cover it today just because some people don't actually even know about this at all. But some people, they go on our website and they say, look, we can see that your course is accredited, but what does it actually mean that you're accredited? What does it mean? What can I do with an accredited course that I maybe couldn't do with a course that's not accredited? So, Dallas, did you want to go into that a little bit?
yeah, sure. It actually sort of made me think of just development in general across the world as well. But yeah, so essentially accreditation. So it's nationally recognized. Our courses are nationally recognized, which means that they've been approved by like a body called TEXA. And this approving body basically says that what we deliver, can be recognized, anywhere in the country. It's, like, you go to, yeah, and it also means that the subjects that you complete are of a university level. So the subjects you complete are the same subjects that are going to be at every other institute that is accredited as well. So you'll be able to, do a boot camp with us, and then you could move on to uni afterwards, and you could get some of those. You can get recognition of prior learning for subjects you completed with us if you happen to go into a course that also has crossover subjects to sort of save yourself some time and money. Also, it means that you get access as an Australian citizen or a New Zealand special category visa holder. You can get access to a fee-help government loan, so you can defer payment. Instead of having to pay out of pocket for the boot camp, that's available to you as well. What I was going to say as well, what you just sort of sparked in my brain, was coding in general as a language, like all sorts of coding languages. They're all based off of the English language. Okay. So if you can speak English, then you can essentially learn to code. And the beauty of coding is that coding languages are universal. So you can become a full stack web developer in Australia with us at one of our boot camps, and you can definitely use that skill set on the other side of the world. It's going to be exactly the same. The only thing that will be different is if you happen to decide to settle down in a country that is not English speaking, okay, and you're surrounded by other developers in a company that are not English speaking, all of the coding language will still be the same. It'll still be the same, but maybe their notes in their code might be in a different language. So that's the only sort of difference you're going to run into. Ultimately, you can be a full stack developer in any other country in the world. So this skill set is great to have.
Nice, thank you.
Cool.
Another question in regards to our online virtual classes. So we require in our boot camps for you guys to be in a place at a time with us, with your educator and your cohort for 8 hours of the week, which isn't a huge ask. Not compared to the workload that it actually is all up. So for those 8 hours for this July intake, as Dallas said before in the presentation, it's Monday and Wednesday evenings from 7 till 9 p.m. and then a Saturday morning from 9 till 1:30. A question which comes up very often for us is, are the online virtual classes recorded? And if they are, where can I access those? So they are all recorded and they are archived then on your learning platform. So you'll be using Canvas, and within Canvas, you'll also be able to access your live virtual classes. So those will run through Zoom, but you have all of your classes recorded there to watch and rewatch as many times as you wish. It is our understanding, of course, that over a 10-month period, you're definitely going to miss something. Like you're going to be sick. People get married on Saturdays. Things happen. So, you can go back and then, watch what you've missed, ask any questions you need to in the Discord channel for that project or for that subject, and get your questions pretty quickly as a catch up. Yeah, just in case you guys were wondering. Okay, we've still got like 15 minutes left to answer any further questions that you guys have. Have you got anything that you'd like to ask about at this point, or have we beautifully covered it in less than an hour?
Maybe. Just so
Maybe we
damn
have.
informative.
We're just, yeah, the information givers. Yeah.
That's all good. Look, if there's no more questions, that's totally fine. What we'll do is we'll duck down to here. This is going to be our next info session. Feel free to scan that QR code or just jump on the website and join us for the next one. It's going to be more of this, but possibly with more people. Could be a bit of fun. And then look, here's our details again. So if you don't have them already, which I'm pretty sure you do, there they are. But yeah, look, if you have any questions and you did not want to ask them, can we quickly have a simple example of the coding? I don't have any code to offer you as an example right this very second, Christy.
Oh, I know what we can give you, Christy, actually, a really good
Yeah.
example of the coding. I have a past webinar where we had a a mini coding lesson by one of our coder educators. So I will send you that following this chat if you wish. Is that
Perfect.
okay? It's really good. It's actually really good. No worries, Christy, at all. That's all good. Yeah, I'll send it to you. I think it goes for about half an hour, and it's a really basic sort of beginner tutorial on how to make a very simple web page, but it'll give you a good idea of how our educators actually instruct and the dynamic kind of way in which they do so. So I think it's, yeah, honestly better than anything Dallas and I can come up with in our last 15 minutes. Yeah.
For
No
sure.
worries.
Definitely.
All good. Yeah.
Awesome. Right. Yeah. Well, look, any other questions, guys, that maybe you didn't want to ask, definitely reach out to us. Those are our contact details. We're happy to have a chat because that's what we do. And look, but if you're keen to go ahead and apply for the July intake, there is still plenty of time. So absolutely get an application in. We're keen to have a chat, and I think we'll catch you next time. It's been beautiful.
Thank you very much for sharing your
Cool.
lunch break with us. Feel free to call us. We love having a chat. Love it.
Okay. See you
Thanks,
later.
Dallas.
Bye.
Bye.